Hi, friends. Welcome back to Coffee Break with the Chamber Chicks, the podcast where we grab a cup of coffee and talk about the things that really matter to our businesses and our lives. Today, we're joined by Teri Smiley with Starfish Partnerships, and we are diving into goal setting, both professionally and personally, and how being intentional can really help us build a stronger 2026. If you've ever set a goal and abandoned it by February, or you just want some more clarity and less chaos going into the next year, this episode is for you, my friend. So grab your coffee and let's get started.
Hey everybody, it's your favorite Chamber Chicks. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kayla.
And we're here on Coffee Break with your Chamber Chicks. And we're with our very dear friend, Teri Smiley from Starfish Partnerships. If you've been around our little chamber sphere, you've seen Miss Teri with us on a lot of different things. And we're gonna today talk about goal setting for 2026. Awkwardly talking about goal setting for 2026, apparently. She just sticks her
Our goal
hand.
for 2026 is to both of us just get closer and closer and closer to the microphone. Our goal for 2026 is maintain our posture.
She's so mean. She's just okay.
You know you love me.
It's true. It is true. It's true.
Anyways, goal setting.
Where were we? Yes, goal setting for 2026. And we hear a lot of people say to us particularly, oh my gosh, how do y'all get all that done? Not without a plan. I will say that. Nothing gets done without a plan, but nobody speaks to goal setting better than our dear friend Teri Smiley.
Nor does anyone get more done.
I was gonna say this sister does stuff when I'm getting emails from her and I'm like, girl, I know you're in Portugal. Why are you emailing me? But she got a plan. That's why she gets everything done. So thank you, Teri, for joining us.
Yes, I'm excited.
Tell us a little bit about Starfish Partnerships.
So we work with businesses, nonprofit organizations, chambers, and individuals and leaders on kind of anything that you want to get better at, basically. So whether that's team culture, whether that's goal setting, whether that is time management, any of that, but also governance training. I know I joined y'all on the podcast before for that.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Vendor on the podcast.
I mean, I thought that's very helpful.
Yes.
Our nonprofits, sometimes you just find yourself in a nonprofit and then try to figure out a path forward. It's so good to have folks like you who understand. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
We'll just dive right in. You good?
Yeah.
Right. So when you hear the phrase goal setting, what really comes to mind? And why do you think so many people either love it or hate it?
That is a great question. So I think when people think about goals, they think about like this rigid system or our failed New Year's resolutions, right? And they just feel pressure. Like if I don't ever set any goals, I don't fail at anything. And so we love the idea of being better. We love the idea of improving, but we hate the guilt we feel if we don't reach our goals. So I will tell you that I used to feel the same way. I really didn't grow up setting goals. And for years, even managing the Walton County Chamber of Commerce, the chamber might have had goals, but I didn't really set any personal goals for years. I lived by to-do list. I still live by to-do list. But now my to-do list is a little more intentional about what goes on it based on my goals. So I love like the old school vision board classes. And I did one of those one time where, you cut the pictures out of the magazines and then you glue them all, onto this poster board or whatever. Of course, now you can do these pretty vision boards with Canva and Pinterest and all of that. But, I think people do that. And they love that and they love the prettiness of the vision board. But then I think that they don't know how to start on, like, how do they reach those things on that vision board? So I think that, being intentional about what's on that vision board and what's long-term, what's short-term, how do I really get these things accomplished, and really setting smarter goals around that, which we can talk more about that whole framework of that if you'd like to.
So that's a perfect segue into our next question which is, why is it important for us to be intentional with those goals rather than just like, well, we'll just see what happens. Like we'll see what goes on this year and tackle it then.
Yeah, so seeing what happens is easier, right? Because you're not holding yourself accountable and nobody else is holding you accountable if you're just trying to see what happens for the year. But if you don't choose your direction, like life is just going to choose it for you. Like, and everybody else is going to put things on your to-do list for you, and you're not really being intentional about setting it yourself. So I love using the Smarter Goals framework. And if you're not familiar with that, it's being specific, making sure your goals are measurable, making sure they are attainable. Like you don't want to set something you're never going to reach. Like I'm never going to be, you know, a scuba diver because I'm afraid of sharks, right? So that's not a goal I would ever set for myself, right? So making sure it's attainable, making sure it's relative to you and your season, what you have going on in life right now. The T is for time bound, setting like what is the time limit I'm giving myself to accomplish this. And then E is for evaluation. So the ER at the end, E is for evaluation, constantly evaluating that goal. Where am I at with it? And then the R is for reward. Now, you don't reward yourself. If your goal is for weight loss, don't reward yourself with all this junk food, right? That's not a reward. Reward yourself with something that makes sense. Maybe a new pair of pants or a new dress or a new something, right? For your reward. So make sure your reward makes sense to you. And then I actually love taking the annual goal. You might ask me something about this later, but I'm just going to throw it out because it popped in my head right now. I like taking that annual goal and breaking it down into like 12-week quarterly goals. And so I think that's more attainable. I think when we set like an annual goal for the year, we look up sometimes and it's September and we're like, oh crap, I haven't even started on this, right? And so it's really being intentional. Like what can I do each 12 weeks, each quarter to get myself closer to the goal? So really breaking that down into smaller increments. And if you've ever read the book, The 12-Week Year, it's a great book that teaches you how to think of each 12-week period as your goals. And so it's easier to manage that in 12-week increments than it is to try to tackle something that should take you all year to get done.
And then I think too, like if you think about it that way, then when you get behind, it feels a little more manageable because I think otherwise then if you're just looking at this big goal, you're like, oh, well, I'm so far behind. I just like will give up on this goal, you know?
Yes.
So
yes, I'll put it off till next year, right? It's not going to happen now anyway, right? But if you really break that big goal into 12 weeks, and I did put together a example to show to kind of tie it all together at the end, if y'all would like for me to do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Okay.
Awesome. So you're really speaking to me right now because I've had chamber goals on my mind for probably the last 12 or 14 years.
Yes.
I was like you, I'm very focused on making this a very good organization. And so I haven't had a lot of personal goals lately. So how do personal goals and professional goals influence each other?
Well, clearly they absolutely do, right? So you really can't separate the person that you are personally from the leader that you are in your organization, whether that's your business or nonprofit or wherever it is that you, or whether it's not even a business you own, but you just work for this company. So when one area is misaligned, it does affect the other. So I really think using that smarter goals system is an easy way to make sure that you keep balance with your personal goals and your professional goals. And I think also like not trying to tackle everything. So maybe you have 3 personal goals, 3 professional goals for the year. And so you break that down into 12-week years. Well, you don't put all 3 in each 12 weeks, right? You think, what is the most important thing first? And you try to tackle, just a little bit at a time so that you don't feel, completely overwhelmed.
Because in a lot of times, if there is a lack in one part of your life, it manifests everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's going to spill over. It's just who we are. It's just people.
Yes, it's being human.
So obviously we've talked about the smarter framework. But when somebody is looking towards the new year and maybe they are, I've made a lot of professional goals, but I need to do better in the personal goals, or maybe vice versa. And they're feeling kind of overwhelmed. Are there any other tips that you think, like, here's where you should start, or things that practical tips for them?
Okay, yeah. So again, the 12-week framework really helps with this overwhelm. If you're looking at these goals that you've set and you're like, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to get this done? Start small. Start with one thing personally, one thing professionally. What can you do to really move the needle forward? What can you really do to improve on this one area for this one goal? What is one thing, one action step you can take in the next quarter to really move that forward? So it involves, really getting into a weekly rhythm with that goal. What are some things you can really commit to? So, we'll just say getting healthier is your goal. Well, what can you really do? Like, does it really make sense for you to say, I'm going to start eating salad when you don't like lettuce? No, right? And so what can you do for you? What can you do that really makes a difference for you to move that forward? Maybe it's you're just going to commit to walk 3 times a week, right? It could be something super small, but start somewhere and start small so that you don't feel completely overwhelmed looking at the big laundry list of things you want to accomplish in the year.
Because you can build on those small wins.
Yes. Yes. Make one thing a habit first.
Momentum to do the next. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's like everyone's problem.
Oh, everybody.
I mean, you see it in gym memberships, right? It's
Well,
like,
when
yes,
she said
I'm gonna
get healthier,
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm gonna
what
join
is
the gym and I'm
healthier?
gonna do this every day and da 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 da. And then like by February, people are like, I'm
Yes.
busy. It's
Valentine's
chocolate
Day.
season,
Send me
like
the chocolate.
yeah. So
Well,
Well,
and that in
I
business.
think gyms actually show that sometimes people don't even make it through the whole month of
Right.
January.
Don't even
Right.
get to
Right? So
We see that with businesses when we sit down and we do one-on-ones with every new member. We sit down and say, okay, what's your heartache and what are your goals? And they'll be like, well, we want to be everywhere all the time. So we walk through that with them and say, is that really what you need to be? Well, let's focus on what is going to make the most impact,
yeah,
the fastest turnaround for your chamber investment. You have my attention right now. Let's get it done now. Let's figure out what those key things are. So, and
yes,
it's
I love
really a
that.
small thing. We always start with a small goal that's something that can be done in the next month, even. Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. I love that plan.
Christmas season is here, and Peace Mama Spa is the perfect place for women to escape the hustle and bustle. Find your peace with massage therapy, facials, and spa services, specializing in women's health. Book your services or buy a gift certificate for that special lady in your life at peacemamaspa.com.
So, is there a framework or a mindset that you recommend when you're setting goals that actually work? They really stick.
Okay. So I mentioned a vision board earlier. I love a vision board. I love something you can see every day. And if you like to do that in Canva or Pinterest, it could be like your screensaver on your computer. And so that's something you're constantly reminded, like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's because I want these bigger things. I have a vision to travel, or I have a vision of a house that looks like this, or I have a vision of, I have tennis shoes on my vision board so that I make myself start walking, right? So you see that every day and it kind of triggers, like, what am I doing to get myself closer to this? So I think seeing that every day. And then I've already mentioned the smarter goals. I've already mentioned the 12-week year. But I think 12 weeks is long enough that you can see meaningful progress that keeps you motivated to keep going for another 12 weeks. So each 12-week season, so to speak, each quarter would have, just 1 to 3 goals, small goals that break down your big vision board, right? That break down your big goal for the year. Really creating those weekly habits so that you can start to see change. Whether that is just like, let's say you want to get more organized, or you want to know what you're going to work on Monday morning instead of wondering, right? So maybe on Friday afternoon, you sit down and you make out your to-do list every Friday afternoon for the next week. What do I need to get done next week? What are some things I'm going to get done to get me closer to my goal, meeting my goals next week? And then you have an evaluation time. So making sure you take time to evaluate, what did I say I was going to do? What did I actually get done? How did this move me closer to reaching my goal? And then, obviously, like mid-year, you're going to need a chance to kind of review, like, where am I at? Am I halfway there? Like, if you're not, do you need to reset your goal? Like, were you too lofty, or is the end of the year going to be bigger? So maybe you're in retail, maybe the end of the year is a bigger time for you to reach sales goals or something like that. So really kind of thinking about mid-year, like, do I need to reset my goal and my own target to reach for the year? And really, if you're somebody who needs accountability, I just encourage you, find a friend, find some accountability partner, to keep you on track. And if you are okay with self accountability, that's fine too. Just make sure you're tracking your progress along the way.
Do you like when you were talking about the vision board on your screensaver or whatever, how do you like display your goals to remind you of what you got going on, or display or keep track of, like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I use a vision board. I created it in Canva, so it has all these things that I want to do. One of my things on my vision board for Starfish Partnerships is only do things that bring me joy.
Yeah.
So I can, having a almost 31-year career in the chamber world, like, I could help chambers with probably anything, but I don't love everything, right? And we all have our things that we feel like are our that we're best at, and things we're not. And so that's one thing. So I remind myself of that. Like, if I get requests from chambers to help them with things, and if I don't love them at my chamber, I'm not going to love them at your chamber either, right? And so just thinking about being intentional about what I'm going to do. So that vision board is my screensaver. It's actually my screensaver, usually on my phone too, but right now we have something going on at church, so that's my screensaver on my phone. But it's my screensaver on my computer. So every time I open my computer, I see that, and I'm like, oh goodness, it's all right now, like, it's almost end of December. What did I get accomplished off of this vision board for the year? I do my vision board for the year. I know some people do like longer term vision boards. I like doing mine just for a year at a time and trying to focus on that. Now, I will tell you, I had tennis shoes on my vision board because my intent was to start walking regularly. I have not fulfilled that goal. So I've got to decide if I'm going to add that to my vision board for next year or not. But it's just the intentionality. And then I do break down my goals into 12 weeks. So that is the first thing I see when I open my calendar, is my goals for that 12-week period and what's on my to-do list this week that's going to help me reach those goals for that 12-week period.
Got it. I was just wondering if you how you displayed yours, or what you like
I
to
think
do.
we need a vision board.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to. That's what we're gonna do tomorrow.
Like, we love something we can see, and
Yeah.
one of the things that we do here is try to focus on our why. And I always tell the staff, I want you to do things that you're good at and you enjoy, just like what you said. Now, work is still work, and we have to get some things done. But if you do things that you're good at and you enjoy, you're going to be successful at it, right?
Yes.
And so if you look around our office, we have pictures of our stakeholders and chamber members and success. Like, you see the smiling faces around the office, and that's why we do what we do. Because some days are hard, and some days it's hard to make that goal. So we have that constant reminder in front of us, and it is one of my favorite things about this building is that if you walk somewhere in the building, you'll see somebody's face that their life is better because we were here, and that's my big goal. So anyway,
I love that.
So you talked about it for a minute earlier, just like briefly, but how, when they're thinking about, whether they're a business owner or a manager or just an individual, when you're looking at the year and establishing your goals and, your plan and things, how do they prioritize the things that matter without running themselves ragged?
Oh, yeah. Burnout's real, right?
That's real.
Burnout is real. But really, burnout comes from trying to do all of it at one time, right? So if you have 3 personal goals, three professional goals for the year, or 3 goals for your business for the year, and you try to tackle them all at the same time, you're going to burn yourself out. You need to create those smaller habits a little bit at a time, those break that big goal down into these smaller steps and really focus on just a few things each. Again, I use the 12-week year framework, but really, what can I focus on in this 12 weeks? And what do I have time for in this 12 weeks? So, I don't know if any CPAs are listening, but if a CPA is listening, they're not going to be focusing on big goals during tax season,
Nope.
right?
Not
And
enough.
so they're going to,
during open enrollment,
enrollment.
right? You know, so
right, right.
Harmony
So,
is when it's time for harvest, right? Everybody
yeah, so
has a season that's crunch.
yeah, so you think about that. And like in this season, in this 12-week quarter, this 12 weeks, what can I really commit to? Because I know I have all these things that have to be done in this 12-week season. And so being intentional about that really helps like in the summer, like I like to travel. I'm not going to put a lot on my plate in the summer months. And so during the summer, it's going to be a lighter goal task, right? Because I want to spend time with my family and I want to travel and the kids are out of school and all that fun stuff. So it's choosing like fewer things that fit that season and then being intentional about setting the smarter goals around it. What is really attainable? How am I going to measure success in this 12-week season? And then again, fewer goals and reviewing them and evaluating what's working, what's not.
I think that's really great to think about it in terms of the, seasons. Like this is not a like super big goal, but I love to read. And so I use Goodreads and like they have like a reading challenge and you say how many books you're going to read. Well, I said my number for the year and early in the year I was like, wow, I'm killing it. I am going to be busting over my goal. And then we bought a house. And then we remodeled the house. And then I had no time to read and
more energy.
Right. And so like I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to be behind on my goal. And which again, not that that's like a life or death sort of thing. But then when I looked at it the other day, I was like, actually, I'm not behind because I was so far ahead in this season because I had time in that season to spend on reading that goal. And this season I didn't have any time and that's okay. And still finding the ways to meet that goal where there's months of plenty and months of famine, sort of situation.
Exactly.
I love the focus that you have on intentionality because I really think it's more energy to be reactive, right? Than to be proactive. So I really, really love that. So in that vein, and someone is planning their 2026 goals so that they feel more intentional, what should they start with now to stop being so reactionary? What needs to happen now?
So you need to set your annual goals. You need to figure out what am I going to do each quarter, right? Really breaking that down into each quarterly season.
Yeah.
And Kayla just gave a great example. So what she didn't know in January she's going to be buying the house, right? And remodeling a house. But what you do know already, like go ahead and break that up into seasons. When can I do what? What makes the most sense? Momentum really is built before the year starts. So start right now, build that rhythm now. What is something that you want more of in 2026, right? What is something you might need to do less of in 2026?
I think that's a great point because sometimes it's not more of something. Sometimes it's what are you going to give up?
Yes.
Well, and what are you going to give up a little bit to take on the new thing?
Yes. What are you willing to not do to reach your goal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think that
then reward your wins. Like I can't stress that enough. Like small wins need rewards, whatever that looks like for you, depending on what your goal is.
A pair of shoes for pearls of wisdom. Listen,
right?
I need your help because I think I deserve a new pair of shoes.
I never said you did not.
I know she's always
fully support that decision. Teri, you can't take me shopping if you want me to be the friend that says don't buy that.
Teri knows how much I love a pocketbook.
Yes.
No, listen, there's these pair of shoes. We'll talk after. We'll set a goal so you buy these shoes.
Set your goal and get the shoes, girl.
Buy the shoes, girl.
Yes.
But I think that thinking about
what do you want more of and what do you want
Yes.
less of in the new year is a great way, because some people may be looking at, they're like, okay, I'll set a goal, but like, I don't really know what that looks like. Well, let's, before we come up with a measurable goal, right? Before we
Has to be
say this
measurable.
is the amount, we need to decide what we want less of and what we want more of,
Yeah.
And then from there go, okay, well, here's how we can measure that
Mhm.
less or more or whatever.
And we
So-
always talk about budgeting, right? It's not just money. You have to budget your bandwidth of your
Mhm.
organization. You have
Yeah.
to budget your just energy. Sometimes you just have to budget
Yeah.
your energy.
Yeah.
I know how
Yes.
everybody hates that budget word, except for my CPA friends. I love a budget, as do I. But
And speaking about energy,
mhm.
what would you say to somebody that is maybe, like you said earlier, they're feeling discouraged because they broke their New Year's resolution early off, they didn't
On
meet their
January
goal.
5th.
What words of encouragement would you give them to build that momentum to tackle next year's goal?
Okay, so I think first, give yourself grace, right? You didn't fail at everything, right? Maybe you didn't get one thing done. Maybe you didn't have the right system in place. Maybe you looked at that annual goal or annual goals and you're like, I don't even know where to start, right? And so that is why I can't say enough about the 12-week system, because I love breaking that down into what makes sense for me in this season, in this quarter it could be a calendar quarter, it could be however you run your business quarter. But really what makes sense to get done in a 12-week time period, because looking at that big goal can just be overwhelming. So just try something different in 2026. Like, try a different system. Try to break that big goal down into smaller bites and that are doable and measurable, and then if you reached it or not. And give yourself grace if you don't reach the full goal. Like, I love having a good stretch goal, right? And so having a good stretch goal is not a bad thing. It's going to stretch you to be a better leader, to be a better business owner, to be a better person. So having a stretch goal is great, but knowing that, it is a stretch goal at the end of the day.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. Well, I love the
Yeah.
part too that you said about finding something that works for you, because I think the way that everyone picks their goals, tracks just, plans out stuff. The way that Beth and I like to put sticky notes all over the wall and plan
Yeah.
our next year is not how everybody does,
No.
And so
Right.
it's been so different that you need to do it in a way that works for you.
Yeah. And anytime we talk about planning or development or anything like that, take what works for you.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
everything's going to work. So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Yes. And I didn't mention this, but I think it's important to mention, so many people have goals in their head, right?
Ooh, write that thing down.
Write your goals down. Yes. Write it down, commit to some small action steps to reach it, right? A written goal, I mean, there's all kinds of studies that prove if you write it down, you're more intentional about trying to make it happen than if it's just swimming around in your head, right? I think that's a dream. I think goals are written down and we have lots of dreams in our head of things we want to accomplish, but progress really isn't going to happen unless you write it down and then you are very intentional about getting there.
Very true.
Love it. Wow.
Very
That's
good.
good. A dream's in your head and a goal's on paper.
That's
Love
right.
that.
Well, it's so exhausting to have to carry that around here all the time. Just get it out on the paper, get it out of your head so you have capacity to do other things.
Yes.
Love it.
As a girl with many mental tabs open, that makes sense.
Well,
Yes. Yes, for sure.
I think we all have mental tabs open.
I feel like just delete, exit out, exit out, exit out.
Yes, for sure. And we all are so busy, and this time of year is so busy too.
Yeah.
You've got all the holiday stuff on top of all your regular stuff.
Yeah.
And so many of our business owners have children still in school and they're running to soccer games, and some have little children who need a lot of attention. So yeah, you got to give yourself some grace and some space and those
Yeah.
things. But awesome. Well, Teri, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I did put together an example. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, show us.
Okay. All right. I didn't know I'll show you that. I'm just going to tell you. Okay.
Tell me.
So let's just say you're a business, and on your vision board, right? You have like a thriving business with happy customers all swarming around your store or your service business, right? So that's a dream and that's a vision. That's on your vision board. So your annual goal might be, let me grow my customer base by 25%. Okay. And then a shorter goal might be, I want to grow by 10% in 6 months or 12% in 6 months. But instead of trying to figure and fix everything right at one time, you break that down into a 12-week season. Okay. So for 12 weeks, you focus on increasing new customers by 5 to 8% only. So then what are some tiny things you can do each week to try to get that goal? So they might look like, I'm gonna, try to put out one piece of content that reaches X number of followers. It might be a follow-up to an existing customer to ask for a testimonial. It might be one, like encouraging people to check in when they come to your store so that you can, and maybe you have a prize or something, like when they check in your store. But what are some intentional things you can do every single week for that 12-week season to grow your customer base by 5 to 8%? So that really is showing how you start with that vision, that pretty picture of the happy customers and the store full of customers, right? But really breaking it down into how do I grow this business into something even better and have even greater impact in our community. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah,
That's a great example. I mean, a fantastic example.
Yeah.
Love it.
Love it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Coffee Break with the Chamber Chicks and with our other favorite Chamber Chicks.
I know.
So we should, when you said your favorite Chamber Chicks, I was like, well, also Teri is one of our favorite Chamber Chicks.
I love y'all too.
But thank y'all for joining us for this episode of Coffee Break with the Chamber Chicks. We will catch you next time.
See you. Love you. Bye.